Thanks. Yeah, we're throwing them, having two of us, but pretty hard to talk about collaboration without being in more than one person. As you know, the Australian Energy Market Operator, and that's where Luke's from, is managing a system undergoing an enormous transformation. And we have a lot of renewables data which is useful to AEMO. Likewise, we have to manage the integrity of entitlements under the renewable energy target, and AEMO has a source of wealthful data that we can use. So we're going to take you through a little bit of a quick run through that. We've been working together for some time, but an MOU was developed in 2013, then started to work on transfer of data between each other, primarily our small-scale renewable energy scheme data in 2015. Then we automated a two-way data exchange so that I think it's every hour, Luke, we can get each other's data. So we can get all the metadata that AEMO has, and AEMO can get all of our small-scale renewable energy scheme data, which is currently 1.7 million small-scale PV, but in total about 2.7 million small-scale systems, including hot water. And then we'll talk about some of the things that we're going to do together. We're just doing at the moment to do with large-scale renewable energy scheme data exchange, and also battery storage, some ideas to move forward on some COAG Energy Council initiatives.
Okay, as Mark said, the CER have provided a rich data source for AEMO to help us out in our role in managing power system security. And a key part of that was the large increase in rooftop PV that went in at a very fast rate through a mixture of incentives across jurisdictions. And what would that do to the power system? So a key part of this data sharing arrangement was us being able to do some studies, one on inverters, just trying to see if we were running the same risks that Germany had when they had a large increase of the similar technology. The good news was the study found there's a very low probability, but being able to see that list of inverters of different models and makes allowed us to assess what the diversity was to a frequency disturbance in the power system. The other key area was in our demand forecasting. I'm sure you've all seen the change in shape of a daily demand. You know, obviously that was largely due to PV and us being on top of AEMO, being on top of that and being able to forecast it during the day.
So in terms of how we've been using it, we've just automated with our renewable energy certificate registry, automation of cleaning up the data from AEMO's meters to know whether or not a PV has been installed. So the bottom line is over the same time period after a system has been installed, and as you see, you can see periods of actual negative consumption or generation. So we get around about 140,000 new applications for entitlements for small-scale solar PV each year, and this new tool means we can see very quickly whether or not there really was a PV system installed. This next slide, the pie chart shows the current in the dark blue, the small-scale renewable energy scheme generation, and in the grey, the large-scale renewable energy scheme generation. The tiny little slice taken out is what we call commercial industrial scale, and that's between 100 kilowatt capacity and 5 megawatts. That area is currently an area that AEMO doesn't see. And you might say, well, given it's so small, why would we worry? Bloomberg New Energy Finance in its New Energy Outlook just recently said this is going to get huge in the business space. Origin Energy said at Energy Week about a month ago in Melbourne that their leasing program for business solar PV is going gangbusters. So we're getting in early, and I'll hand over to Luke to tell you a bit more about how AEMO will use this.
Look, again, it's the demand forecasting piece. On the current day, and looking forward in our longer term forecasts, what do we see is going to happen at the end of the day typically is our biggest challenge as the solar runs off, how much solar's in place, and just allows us to manage events and forecast whether we need to, or how we're going to manage the power system at that time, whether we might need to call on demand response and other areas on those extreme days.
So going forward, future opportunities, I'll I'll throw to Luke to talk a bit about why they need battery storage, but the way in which we've cleaned up AEMO's data to know whether or not there was a PV system installed, we think that can be repurposed to look at whether or not a battery has been installed at a household or business level. There are also some of the things we've learnt in managing a large-scale scheme such as a small-scale renewable energy scheme, and so we're looking at how we can work together to help AEMO in the lead task it's been given by COAG Energy Council.
So in the context of the battery storage register, which is really going to be a distributed energy register, that allows the visibility of those assets to be there for both AEMO's roles in power system security, but also DNSP's roles and other roles in the market. The key piece about the collaboration there is when we're collecting this information is making sure it's efficient from the consumers and the installer's perspective. The relationships and the processes that the CER have built up in the scope of the small scale system, we're hoping that collaboration will allow us to do that at the minimum cost to those parties and allow the information to flow, hopefully using some of the technology we've been talking about earlier in the show for Stuart, to disseminate that information to who needs it quickly, straight from, in the case of the pilot programs that CER are running now, from applications that the installers are using at the site.
Yeah, so we've got a pilot going on with the industry where the installer with a smartphone and an app scans the barcodes of the panels, gets a ping back from the manufacturer to say these are on the Clean Energy Council's list, do have the 25-year manufacturer's warranty. So we're looking at how we can extend that to batteries as well to make it really easy, just a matter of scanning a barcode to get AEMO the data at once. And until the rules can be changed for AEMO to run all this, we're going to work together to see if we can get good voluntary disclosure by the renewables industry, because most small-scale batteries are being installed with small-scale PV at the moment. Just a couple of other things we're looking at. We're looking at moving forward for the large-scale renewable energy scheme and entitlements for large generation certificates. Next thing we're looking at is how we can use AEMO's data to pre-populate what we believe the entitlement will be, reduce a lot of red tape for the renewables developers. Also to look at whether we can take AEMO data to avoid companies having to double report through the National Greenhouse and Energy Reporting Scheme. So that's it.
That's it for us. Thank you.